They're, you might as well call one party the party of Moloch, because they are. They are. In order to enlarge their borders, economic, money, isn't that what drives the vast majority of abortions in the United States? Right now it's just really not convenient, and we just, it's a lot of money, and just got promoted at work, and just not the right time. Just not the right time. Yeah, this is an absolutely unique human being here. Yeah, there'll never be another one like. I wonder how many Beethovens have been aborted in the world so far. I think about that. Because when you look at the Bachs and the Beethovens and the Mozarts, we don't have much like that anymore, do we? I wonder how many were conceived that had that absolutely unique combination, genetically speaking, that were aborted, that were murdered in the womb. You do wonder. You do wonder. To enlarge their borders, money, economics. And so I will kindle a fire on the wall of Rabbah, and it will consume her citadels. There may have been some, I'm sure there were Ammonites that didn't engage in ripping open the pregnant women of Gilead. I'm sure there were some Ammonites that were very, very concerned about that and were really disturbed by it. But they suffered with their compatriots. They suffered with their fellow citizens, didn't they? When the judgment of God came. A lot of places like that in Scripture. A lot of places like that. I want to talk just briefly. Well, now let's go ahead and go with this. I have two videos queued up. I just sort of decided, well, let's see how we feel as to which one we're going to go for. Yesterday, I saw a link, and when I started watching it, I said, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. A couple of times over the years, we have played footage from what's called Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner in London, where primarily Christians and Muslims, now there are others, but given the situation in the United Kingdom, primarily Christians and Muslims get together and argue. And to be honest with you, I tried to get there once when I was in London on a Sunday, and there was a tube construction going on, and the primary line that we needed to get there, we couldn't do it. My brother Roger and I went to it, and we were looking at the map, and it was like, well, to get back when we needed to get back, it wasn't going to happen, so we didn't get to go. But for all my times in London, I've actually never been to Speaker's Corner. And while I don't think I've gone out with folks while witnessing in Leicester Square and stuff like that. It's not really my thing to stand on soapboxes and deal with hecklers and stuff like that. Obviously, I prefer a little more controlled environment. But there is one thing I want to point out. When I do speak with Muslims in a context such as Leicester Square or something like that, the arguments that I use with them are the same arguments I use in debate. In other words, I'm not two different people. I don't have my highbrow arguments for debate and my lowbrow arguments for the Muslim that I encounter on the street, where it's very obviously clear to me this person has not done nearly the study of even Islam that I have, let alone Christianity. That puts me in an easy spot. And some might give in to the temptation. Well, I realize this guy is not going to be able to mount a meaningful defense, so let's go ahead and use some of the more spectacular arguments. Or there are people around me, so let's give in to the temptation to do a little fancy schmancy stuff here, assuming that the guy we're talking to really isn't going to have the best response. In other words, I think you can find out what a person really believes. There's some people that are a little hesitant when they're going to be hitting the send button to put it on the internet, because then it's there, never goes away. Who will behave differently out there on Speaker's Corner. I don't want to be one of those folks. I want to be consistent. Well, as I said, I was sent a link to a recent, what looks like a recent, it was only put up a couple days ago, so a recent encounter at Speaker's Corner. And all it tells me is that we have some Irish Christians and Muslim apologist Paul Williams. Now, Williams is an apostate. He was a member of an evangelical church that I've debated in. And he apostatized and became a Muslim. And he is a very frequent critic of mine, obviously, as I've been a critic of him as well. I'd like to take a look at some of the things he says here, but what I would like to do, and I have not been able to get in touch with him yet, but we have the opportunity in about 3 weeks from now in London to debate the very issues that are being discussed right here. And from my perspective, if Mr. Williams is willing to raise these questions to young men, at one point he even criticizes a man, what are you, 13 or something? If you're willing to use these arguments with them, then you should be willing to defend them against me, right? So I would like to invite Paul Williams. We have the location. It's right there in London. No long distance travel or anything. On Friday the 13th of May, I can give you the exact address.